You are welcome to this edition of Majalisa. Majalisa is a phrase for discussion for Parliament where people come to share their opinions and views about issues. And today we are trying to look at the developments that have taken place in the Federal Capital Territory the last 1.5 years or so. And with me to discuss these developments is the Right Honorable Timothy Golu, who was a member of the Plateau State House of Assembly. He was the chief whip and came to the House of Reps. And before in the House of Reps, he was a member of the two committees that were overseeing the activities of the Federal Capital Territory. Honorable Timothy Golu, who also reported for the leadership newspaper, and he covered the activities of the Ministry of the Federal Capital Territory. Honorable Golu, you are welcome.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for having me here at Majalisa.
I understand that many people get lost when they come into Abuja now. You reported Abuja before. You reported on the things happening in Abuja. How do you compare Abuja today with what it was when you were a reporter?
Thank you very much for this question. It is true that those who are coming to Abuja, even if you were in Abuja before, and then for some time you have been away, Abuja is new to you. Even those who stay in Abuja now, you find it difficult to access some areas, not access, you find it difficult to locate or maybe find your way around because of new developments, that have taken place. Kudos to the present administration for giving the kind of attention they gave to the FCT, and kudos to the leadership too of the FCT for having the commitment to drive development of the FCT to this level. Because I remember this, the present minister of the FCT, Barrister Wike, should be the 7th or 8th minister. In 1999, when Nigeria returned to democratic rule, I think the first minister to be appointed by the former president was Architect Ibrahim Bunu from Borno State. After that, after about 2 years, he was replaced with Engineer Mohammed Abagana, also from Borno State. From there, Rufai took over in 2004. Rufai was replaced by Honorable Ibrahim Modibo from Gombe State. From there, Alero from Kebbi State took over. After Alero, it was the present governor of Bauchi State, that is Mohammed Bala. Mohammed Bala gave way, and then Mohammed Bello from Adamawa took place. And after Mohammed Bello, who served as Minister of FCT for 8 years, Nyesom Wike took over from him. And in all these ministers came, and did their own parts to develop the FCT. And one of the constant issues that has surrounded the development or the configuration of the FCT has been the issue of the Abuja Master Plan. Each one of them would come, you remember that the movement to Abuja was abrupt. It was started by General Gowon himself, but Gowon could not have the opportunity to implement it. And so when he was overthrown and Murtala came on board, Murtala dusted what was on the table, and so he decided to make it open because Gowon did not really announce. That was what he told me. He was taking his time to make it known.
Gowon told you what?
Yes, General Gowon told me that
Did General Gowon tell you?
He started the issue of the FCT. He saw the need to move away from Lagos because Lagos was becoming too congested for development and for any other thing. Even as a military government, they were becoming, they needed a space. So the original FCT was to start from here, part of what is presently FCT, to Nasarawa, Plateau State, and part of Kaduna South, and then Niger State. This was the area that was carved for FCT. In fact, from Akonga up to Wokos in Plateau State to Mangu, and then to Zangon Kataf area of Kaduna South, to Niger and the present site of it. But because they were not opportune to complete their, to do that, they left, and Murtala Mohammed came, saw it, the beautiful plan on the table, and he dusted it. And so they talk about the new Abuja started around that time. So everybody was waiting until the former military president hurriedly moved, to Abuja, and then Abuja began. And because of the nature of the movement, it was not well planned, and therefore it came with its own auxiliaries, irregularities of the distortion of the master plan, because there were things that were not to be accommodated, but it was forcefully accommodated due to the movement of the military into Abuja. And so the distortion of the Abuja Master Plan started then. I have, just like you said, I was not just a member of the House Committee on FCT and the area councils, but somebody who grew up in the FCT. I started coming to Abuja here around 1984-85, before I went to the secondary school. So I am just like part of, the indigents of Abuja.
So now talking about that, you grew up in Abuja. You literally saw how Abuja came up. How would you describe Abuja in the 80s?
In the 80s, Abuja was a very scanty place. Abuja was like, in groups of slums. Area 1 was there. All the areas, they call Area 1 to Area 10, were the principal features of the city. The Wuse Zone 1, 2, and those areas where they were there visible. Metama, you could only locate the then Hilton Hotel. And then all those areas around Area 11 were virtually non-existent. The other side of Garki that they call Garki 2, Wuse 2, all of them were non-existent. They were just forests, undeveloped. The National Assembly complex were our lands where we farm, even extending to the NIA headquarters and the rest of them. All these other areas, Guzape site and the rest of them, you hardly see somebody there because they were thick forest, and some of the forests were inhabited by even dangerous animals. But now Abuja has taken a new shape.
So let's still continue on that. In the 90s, but then you had started going to school. What did you observe in Abuja?
University. And then the military government of President Babangida, did its best, rushing development, providing most of the road infrastructure that you see on ground, within the city center. And their concentration was within the city center, and then the villa too, so that the government can have a place to sit. And the developments continued even when Babangida left and Abacha came in. Developments could not extend beyond that after the development of the National Assembly structure, until the return of the democratic rule. When Obasanjo came, the first tenure, the government was not actually talking about the restoration of the master plan. It was when El-Rufai was appointed. That was when it looked like a new slogan. People begin to know that, people begin to realize that there was actually a plan for Abuja. There was a development plan, because developments were taking place without a plan, so it seemed. So talking about it, you remember the demolitions that took place by El-Rufai in so many places, so that people can comply with the master plan. Not many people were aware of it. It started, it continued. Some ministers would not talk about it, some would talk about it, but the major defect now in Abuja is the gross distortion of the Abuja master plan. But despite that, the new administration in the FCT had, been carrying on with developments. The developments that are taking place, especially the road construction, the expansion of the road network within, they are still within the master plan of Abuja. There was no distortion in that area, because all the plans were there for roads to pass through these sites and the rest of them, all of them. And all of the ministers maintained that, even though most of them did not implement, them. And
let's still stick to this this timeline of your working with the various ministers. You worked with which ministers?
I worked with Architect Bunu. I worked with Abagana. I worked with El-Rufai. I worked with Modibo. I worked with Alero. In fact, I was still covering the villa when I was covering the FCT too. And so I worked with Mohammed Bala for some time, before I finally left, for the villa, when I was covering them at the same time.
So what were the things that you observed? Let's break down these ministers. What was the thing that they impressed you most the time you worked as a journalist?
When Architect Ibrahim Bunu came in, he started as an architect. In fact, he set up a committee to review the Abuja Master Plan. He was the first to set up that committee. I can't remember who was the chairman and then the members of the committee. But since then, I haven't had any minister talk about it until the present minister, Honorable Barrister Wike. He's also talking about reviewing the master plan. The master plan is over 40-years old. So a document like that needs to be reviewed. Even our constitution is being reviewed. Even our laws are being reviewed to catch up with contemporary issues. So the ministers, the two ministers that served under the first tenure of Obasanjo, that was Architect Bunu and Engineer Abagana, was mostly concerned about, I think settling down and then providing the administrative structure, for the FCT. It was called the Federal Capital Territory. Some people call it Federal Capital Territory. Then a FCDA under it. When Erufua came, he adjusted it to Federal Capital Territory Administration, FCTA. So the territory kept, changing in structure, even though they still have a minister, who is being delegated by the president to do it. So when Erufua came, that was when a full-blown administrative structure was really carved. That was even when the FCT was really relating with the parliament to give it, to give it some legal backing, especially with the creation of new agencies, new developmental agencies, like the Satellite Town Development Agency. It was created under Obasanjo, under his second term, under Erufua, and some other development, the development, what is the name of that, Abuja Environmental Protection Agencies, and then other agencies of development. All of them were created at that time, and most of them, even though before they took them to the National Assembly, but they were hurriedly created so as to be able to create an administrative convenience for implementation of policies of government.
If you were to assess the ministers that you work with as a journalist, what will you say?
If I am to assess the ministers, I will say, in as much as all of them contributed their quota in different levels, but all the other ministers' efforts combined, I will tell you without any fear of favor, and any fear of contradiction, it's not up to what the present minister is doing, because all of them kept talking about continuity, but actually none of them continued with the policies of his or our predecessor. None of them. They came in and started their own new projects. When everybody was talking about, please, can we complete this issue? Is it relocation? Is it resettlement? Is it compensation? Is it development? Is it that? They kept talking about it, but none of them continued with the policies of their own predecessors. But when Wike came in, I observed that he carried on with what was on ground. He tried to complete most of the projects that were started, even under Abagana. Projects that were, because Bunu did not stay long as a minister, to do some things or to put some policies on ground. He started actively under Abagana, Rufai, Alero, Modibo, and the rest of them. So all of them came, thought small and go, but he concentrated it. And today we can see the level, of road construction within the city center, which has opened up the city and the congested traffic. That time too, between 1999 and 2007, you hardly can pass through Munyanya to the city center. That time, almost all the governors were coming by road. None of them was using helicopter or using, coming by air. So they were always suffering, just like the other people. All of us were suffering from traffic congestion because it was one lane on both sides. Now the roads have been expanded, not just the existing ones that the present minister inherited, but you can see the road from Minister's Hill to Gishiri to Gwarimpa, which will decongest the traffic, the traffic along Kubwa side and the Zuba and all these other axes, if that road is open. And I discussed with some of the residents of Gishiri, and they were so happy that the minister has assured them that they will be compensated, they will be relocated or resettled, to other areas, which means that, they are happy with what he's doing, and he is also relating, with them at that level. So I would say that all the things put together under this present administration of Minister Wike consume all other efforts that have been put in place by the former minister. I'm not just saying it for anything, but I have been a journalist covering this place for many years. I have been like an indigent of Abuja. I have moved motions in the House of Representatives when we were there concerning the plight of the FCT people. And I can see what is happening. So I can easily identify and realize the changes, that have taken place here.
Yeah, we are speaking with Right Honorable Timothy Golu, former chief chief whip of Plateau State House of Assembly. No, the chief whip, not the minority whip of the Plateau State House of Assembly, a reporter at the FCT for several years, and former member of the House of Representatives. Now back to you, Honorable Golu. Well, on the scale, you have said that the current minister has outperformed all the previous ministers combined. Some people may think that you are just saying it because we always make up things to say. Beside the continuity, what other things will you put on the table to show that he's really done what you are saying?
He has enforced, he has the existing structure that he made on ground. Some minister will come and begin to colorize it, to give political color to it so that it can be said that it comes in their name, and then it stands in their name, so that whenever they are not there, it will be tied as part of their own achievement. But I realized that when this man came, he decided to enforce firmness. If you ask the directors around, you ask the staff, they will tell you that the level of caution, or let me say the level of fear, not fear as per they are afraid of anything, but the level of doing things anyhow. We used to praise Rufai when he came in. He dismantled the market, the Abuja land market. They call it speculation, land speculators. They were all, in fact, they have a market like a stock exchange. You see them physically sitting down to talk, to discuss land. When he came in, he disorganized it. And so the issue of land speculation reduced to a large extent, so that up to this level, you don't find that much. But the issue of the distortion of the Abuja Master Plan. No minister that has been on board here that has not realized the level of distortion of the Abuja Master Plan. And I believe that the present minister will have the political will to set up that committee to review the Abuja Master Plan, so that most of the issues, the conflicts going on, can be resolved. Because anybody can wake up one day and say, okay, these ones are not done according to this, because the law is still in place. But if it is amended, if it is reviewed, some of the places of distortion can be accommodated, and then once they are accommodated, it will not be seen as a violation. It will not be seen as a breach anymore. So when I see him insisting on, he moves around to supervise projects in the night, he moves around to warn contractors, you hardly see any minister talking to contractors openly. In the whole years that I have been, here, I've been monitoring the events. Contractors will go and meet the minister, they will discuss, and then they will only come out with a press statement, or they address the press and tell you this and that. But this minister will carry the contractors to the site, and then the contractors will explain what they are doing on camera, and everybody will hear from them. And so that made contractors to also speed up. The release of funds to contractors has always been one issue too. And this time around, contractors are not too complaining about it. Sometimes they have to go and address the press. Please release our funds so that we can complete this project. But, nothing used to be done, or nothing used to be done as much as is expected. But we appreciate this man for coming on board with this vigor and commitment. And so his commitment, if it were another minister, we would still have been waiting. All these other roles would still have been there, and the president would still have been waiting. But I believe that the president is also surprised with the speed of the present minister, Wike, to have done this thing, to have carried on, and achieve some level of development for the thing.
Yeah, but some people are complaining that the minister has been revoking their license, their land,
yes, a lot of people,
and so
exactly.
forth.
A lot of people are complaining about it, and I believe that the minister should also look into it, because just like I said, there are areas that the violations, people may have violated some things, but it's not deliberate. It's as a result of the distortions that have taken place. So if a committee is set up, some of these areas, gray areas, will be looked into. And I believe that the minister too will understand that some of these distortions, once they are accommodated, some people will not be found guilty, because it is the process of the distortion that has unwittingly made some people to seem to have violated, the Abuja Master Plan.
Yeah, but your complaint is that people are not paying their ground rent.
Yes, if people
including your party, the PDP.
We believe that we need more time. People need more time. The people should be given another time, so that they should temper justice with mercy, so that people can be able to pay it. The situation is not easy for people. There are people there are competing interests here and there. And I know that the minister is a human being. He will understand when people, with this kind of complaint, so that he can give people time again, so that people, including my party, our party, because we are both members of the same party with him, so that he can give another chance again. If it is contribution, every member of the party should contribute nationwide, so that we can pay our ground rent, so that it can be restored to us.
Yeah, I want us to deviate as we run up to Plateau State, where you come from, which has been the scene of continuous, I think almost since 2003 or so. Plateau State has been the scene of unending violence that has taken the lives of perhaps thousands of people by now. What do you think needs to be done to get to the end of this?
An approach that is extraordinary that needs to be taken, not just by government, not just by the community. Recently, I listened to the Director General of the SSS, pressing the approach that was carried on by communities in Bauchi, Bogoro, and the Tafa Balewa therapy. I believe that it can be applied. And, if there are criminals, no matter how you plan, they will always come to cause havoc, especially people that have already, make up their mind to make people cry all the time. But the thing is reducing. It was not like before. It keeps reducing because definitely their plans are being aborted all the time. It would have been worse than this, but the new government has taken an approach, that has made it so difficult for them to go to that level, the maximum level that they had envisaged. Remember what happened during Christmas in Mokos? Remember that one? So deadly, so fatal, and the rest of them. And so since then, a lot of things have been put on ground. And so when they come, they sneak it and go out. They sneak it and go out. But I believe that it's a matter of time. It is pathetic, the desires of some people. Don't know where they're coming from, but we know who they are. And just like the governor said, some have been arrested. And then we will ensure that these people, justice is done. Because before now, you don't hear about it again. People will be arrested, and then that will be all. But I believe that under this present administration of Tinubu, he will support Plateau to ensure that whoever is arrested must be prosecuted. He should support the state government to achieve that. Because if the state governor does not have that kind of backing, it will be frustrating. It will be devastating. But with that kind of support coming from the presidency and the agencies of the presidency and the agents of the security, covering from the executive, the judiciary, and the rest of them, definitely we'll get to a level where we will overcome this challenge permanently.
Thank you very much. We have been speaking to Honorable Timothy Golu, who was a reporter at the FCT and has been in the legislative arm of government at the state and the national level, and we've been speaking about the developments in the FCT. Thank you for listening. Thank you very much for coming, Honorable Golu.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you.